Thank you. Thank you to our amazing jazz trio, Thomas Wenglinski, Jay Cho, and Tyler Pons. We'll be hearing more from them a little bit later on. But hello, everyone, and welcome to 3MT. My name is Patricia Brill. I'm the interim dean of the University of Miami's Graduate School, and I'm so happy today that we have a packed house ready to celebrate research at the U. For many of you, this is probably the first time that you've witnessed a 3MT, so I wanted to give you a little bit of an overview of, maybe what you can expect and what this means, what we're doing here, and really the importance and the global scale of this competition. So this competition all started with a drought, a shower, and a very innovative dean in Australia. So Queensland was suffering a drought, and the state was putting restrictions on the amount of time that you could spend in the shower. So one day, the dean of the graduate school at the University of Queensland took a shower, and in the shower, he realized that 3 minutes was the perfect amount of time in which a graduate student should be able to distill the complicated ideas of their thesis or dissertation and explain it to a non-specialist audience. Now, it's debatable whether it's 3 minutes or 7 minutes, or as one of our judges just told me, 30 seconds or you lose me. We can talk to her later about that. But since then, this amazing competition has gone worldwide. This competition with these same exact rules is conducted in over 85 countries all over the world, 900 universities and colleges. And this year is our 8th annual 3MT. Last year, our winner went on and won the statewide competition, so we're very proud of what's coming out of the University of Miami. So I'd like to acknowledge our 7 graduate students here today who are going to present their work. The problems they seek are important, they're relevant, and they're timely. They're wonderfully diverse in their backgrounds, their disciplines, and their areas of research, but they have one thing in common. They are all incredibly courageous. I was going to say nervous, but that's not true. That's not true. We couldn't be more proud that they're all representing the U. Our competitors haven't gotten here alone. We would like to acknowledge their advisors, their mentors, their department, faculty, and staff, their school, their peers, their family and friends and loved ones, many of whom are here today or watching on our live stream. They've all been there helping them get them to this point. Our students aren't the only ones with family and friends here. I want to acknowledge all the friends and family of the graduate school who are in attendance here tonight. Our UM trustees, members of the various deans' advisory committees and citizen boards, deans, vice provosts, faculty, our alumni and friends, new and old. I want to acknowledge the University of Miami Writing Center, the library's creative studio, the development and alumni relations. And of course, I want to give a special shout out to the many students who are in the room, who are watching us on the live stream, our online students who are watching us remotely, our undergraduate students who are in classrooms all around campus watching the live stream as part of coursework as well. So some of you may have heard me describe in different contexts the 3MT as a TED Talk meets Shark Tank, focused on research, okay? So, well, now it's only appropriate for you to meet our judges, or sharks, for the night, all of whom are well known for their commitment to our university's research mission and our graduate students. So first we have Olga Namovich. After 3 years in various roles at Goldman Sachs, where she served as Managing Director and Chief Data Officer of Global Markets Division and Head of Client Experience, she joined Millennium Management in 2022. Ms. Naumovich is now Head of Technology Miami, responsible for growing the firm's presence and technology offering in Miami. Thank you for being here. Dr. Leonard Pinchuk. Dr. Len Pinchuk is a distinguished research professor of biomedical engineering at the University of Miami. He received his interdisciplinary PhD in engineering and chemistry from the University of Miami in 1984 and has co-founded 10 companies and has over 130 US patents and authored more than 100 publications in his field. He was inducted into the National Academy of Engineering in 2012. Thank you, Dr. Pinchuk, for being here. Alice Vilma came to us from New York this morning just for this event, so thank you for that especially. And she has over 20 years of investment banking, capital markets, structured finance, and investing experience. She's been with Morgan Stanley for nearly 15 years and is currently a managing director in the Multicultural Client Strategy Group in their New York City office, where she strengthens Morgan Stanley's connection to the multicultural business community through development and execution of commercial opportunities with corporate, government, institutional, and individual clients. She graduated cum laude with a BBA in finance from and received her MBA from Harvard Business School. She's the chair of President's Council Executive Committee. Thank you for being here. And last but certainly not least, Willie Prado. Dr. Prado is the university's interim provost and executive vice president for academic affairs. More importantly, he was the dean of the graduate school and stewarded this event and grew this event over many, many years. He oversees today all of the schools, colleges, and schools, and centers and institutes, and the senior administrators involved with research, undergraduate and graduate education, and other academic areas. He's a professor of nursing and health studies, public health sciences, and psychology, a pioneer in health disparities and behavioral interventions for the prevention of substance use, sexual risk behaviors, obesity, and mental health in Hispanic families. So thank you very much to our 4 distinguished judges. So they, of all people, know the importance of brevity, of clarity, and of conveying very complicated ideas to a very wide audience. So with that, I am going to pass on the mic to my friend and colleague, Dr. Hudson Santos, who is the Associate Dean of the Graduate School, and he will describe a little bit about the rules under which all of our competitors will compete tonight. Very exciting. Thank you very much for being here.
So I take the part that's not as fun, but it wouldn't be a competition if there was no rules. So I'm going to tell you all the rules, and you better listen. All right? So there's first the judging criteria. We have 4 judges in the front of the room. They're going to be judging really hard, and they have all the scoring criteria in front of them, but you may not have it. So now, so you can understand a little bit of the criteria. There are basically 2 categories of what are they looking for, and you also should be looking for comprehension and content. And I'm literally going to read this because this is trademarked, and we cannot change it. So presentation, comprehension and content. They'll be looking for presentation that provided clear motivation, background, and significance to the research question. A presentation that clearly described the research strategy and the design and the results, findings of that research. And a presentation that clearly described the conclusions, outcomes, and the impact. In terms of engagement and communication, the oration was delivered clearly. The language was appropriate for non-specialist audience, all of you. The PowerPoint slide was well-defined and enhanced the presentation, and the presenter conveyed enthusiasm in the research they were presenting and captured your attention. Now, there are rules, right? We're going to have to follow, they're going to have to follow. Presentations are limited to 3 minutes. This is the name of the competition, 3 minutes presentation. If the participant exceeds the 3-minute mark, they are immediately disqualified. You got that? No pressure. The timers to the right, it will count down the 3 minutes, and they will start as soon as the candidates start making motion or oration related to the presentation. The presentation has to be spoken in spoken words, meaning they cannot sing, they cannot tell you a poem, they cannot do anything fun like that. So you're just going to have to listen to the words. The slide, the PowerPoint, I know some of you wanted to see motions in the PowerPoint. That is not allowed. It's a static PowerPoint, okay? And they cannot interact with the PowerPoint. The PowerPoint complements the presentation, but they are not supposed to interact with that PowerPoint. One more. No additional electronic media, meaning they cannot play sound, videos. They also cannot use prompts, such as, come up here in a costume. They cannot use musical instruments, although there are some here. They cannot use laboratory equipment. If you have a pipette on your pockets, leave at your table, right? They are not permitted. And the decisions of the judge are final. Now, we all play a part in the rules, too. Now, the rules for you. So we ask the audience, very seriously, to minimize any and all disruptions during the talks. So please, pick up your phone and put it in silence. If you have any other thing that buzz or beep, put it in silence. I'll give you 30 seconds to do it. All right. If you must talk or get up because emergencies happen, we ask you to wait for the end of the presentation. Remember, just 3 minutes for each person. We're going to have a 2-minute break between the competitors. So you can get up and you can take your emergency call, and then at the end of the next presentation, you can come back. Does that sound okay? All right, so those were the rules. Now with that, I'll pass on to our dear student representative, Judy Gringold. Mrs. Gringold is a second-year PhD student in the School of Nursing and Health Studies, and she's also the president of the Graduate Student Association. I'll pass it on to her. She's going to kick off the event, and good luck to all the candidates.
Thank you all for your great energy, and thanks to our phenomenal presenters. It's really my honor to be here, and I'm thrilled to introduce our first presenter, Hannah Artman, PhD candidate in communication in the School of Communication. Her dissertation topic, Desinformación, Discourse and Political Microcelebrities, Understanding the Practices of Social Media Disinformation in Latino Communities. Her advisor, Sally Hughes. Come on up, Hannah.
When it comes to the news, who do you trust? How do you trust? Do you find the news, or does the news find you? These questions are urgent as we witness the traditional news industry plunge into freefall, while more and more eyes turn to digital media as their one-stop shop for news, entertainment, and everything in between. While not a bad thing per se, these questions are important as we turn to local, rural, and diasporic communities. Now, you may be thinking that in a place like Miami, such a strong tradition of Spanish language media is inherently protected from this crisis. However, election year headlines lately have suggested the radicalization of some Spanish-speaking voters due to the spread of disinformation in platforms such as WhatsApp or YouTube. So it is important that we ask these questions in every language and in every community. And at the same time, traditional and digital media are battling for audiences and dollars. We've also seen an explosion in the influencer economy, from marketing fitness and beauty products to producing citizen journalism. These digital micro-celebrities are becoming important gatekeepers in today's mediatized world. They're flashy, yet credible, sensationalist, yet authentic, and raw, yet perfectly produced. So while traditional media is struggling to stay afloat, there is a growing network of political micro-celebrities, or influencers, who successfully build a following through producing news on social media. In one live stream, a host can move from a simple global economic report or neighborhood crime update to suddenly discussing election fraud, feminazis, socialism, globalism, wokeism, or of course, Jeffrey Epstein. But wait, there's more. Don't forget to subscribe to become a member, purchase exclusive merchandise, or even sign up to participate in the channel's very own Zoom karaoke contest. So, I'm conducting a digital ethnography to examine just how these micro-celebrities are leveraging the platform to build their own brand, oftentimes as part of a larger transnational network. I do this by examining how political micro-celebrities mimic professional journalistic styles, how they monetize content for personal or political gain, and most importantly, how they might embed deceptive discourse such as disinformation, conspiracy theories, or hate speech into their programming. Overall, I argue that political micro-celebrities possess a unique ability to provide multiple audience needs at once, as well as on demand, making them a dangerous yet obvious first choice for news and information. Now, my aim is not to discredit these popular platforms nor resurrect the old guard of legacy broadcasters. However, by looking at how credibility, news, and fame are inextricably produced, we can be better.
We will have 2 minutes now where the judges will make their choices. Please take the opportunity to silence all cell phones. It didn't take. I'll just wait for your cue. Okay, and we're back for our second presenter. Shi Zhang is a PhD candidate in business in the Miami Herbert Business School. Her dissertation, essays in diversity and and behavioral finance. Her advisor, Alok Kumar. Welcome up, Shi.
We all know the diversity is very important from a social and moral perspective, even sometimes from the political perspective. However, if we think about that, does it really provide any value to the firm? I mean, the money, And is firm can get any profit, the real money from diversity? Right now, the question in academic is still an unanswered question. However, actually, my dissertation answers this question in some ways, and which I use 16 million employees, their LinkedIn profile, across 4,000 US public firms and across 30 years to answer this question. So what I do is that my data set allow me to create a measure of the diversity in terms of race and ethnic diversity specifically in my, from my data. And on average, I found around 20% of the employees, I mean like those non-executive employees, exclude the top managers, are race and ethnic minorities. And so in my dissertation, I actually tried to answer two questions. The first question is in the green, and does the diversity actually provide any benefits to the firm? So for the first question, what I found is that I go through two channels. The first channel is that through the intangible human capital productivity channel. The other channel is look at through the tangible financial performance, which if you think about it, tangible financial performance are those numbers on the financial report, like what is the return on assets, what is revenue, those kind of things. And what I found in short is yes, diversity do help the firm. However, it only goes through the intangible channel, which is slightly hard to observe and hard for people to understand. What I found is that the diversity helps the firms with better innovation output in terms of better patents, number of citations, and value of the patents are all increase if the firm have a diverse workforce. And also, if we think about employee satisfaction, employees are also be more happier if they work in a diverse workforce. And in terms of that, especially they feel they have better career outcome, they become more productivity, they think the senior management team are going to be better in that that is like the scope of the satisfaction. So in terms of that, diversity do help the firm to improve improves through the human capital productivity perspective. However, on the other hand, I did not find any evidence support that the diversity are going to help the firm in the short run from the tangible financial report perspective, financial tangible thing. So then it moved to my second question is that, which is in the red, is that does the market actually look at it? Okay, sorry, I ran out of time, but actually.
We're in a 2-minute judging interlude. For those who are newly arrived, please make sure to silence your cell phones. Thank you. Okay. Our next presenter, thank you everybody. Our next presenter is Christian McDonald, PhD candidate in microbiology and immunology at the Miller School of Medicine. His presentation explores an EIF2 independent mechanism of translation initiation during KSHV replication and oncogenesis. His advisor, Nuala Shambade and Enrique Mesri.
Whether you know it or not, 95% of us in this room are infected with at least one herpes virus. Now, as you can see from the slide above me, our lab is interested in one in particular, Kaposi sarcoma herpes virus, or KSHV. Now, what sets KSHV apart from other herpes viruses is that when it infiltrates and hides within our cells, it has the ability to trigger the development of a cancer known as KS. Unfortunately, KS has no cure, and more than 50% of advanced cases do not respond well to current therapies. Because of this, my lab is interested in understanding one fundamental question in the field. If herpes viruses are so common throughout the human population, why is it that this one can cause cancer? In my dissertation, we grappled with this question by investigating the role of hypoxia or low oxygen levels during viral replication. So the story of my project is actually about 4 billion years old. So to better understand this a little more, I'd like to direct you to the blue cell on the left of the slide. When the first cells appeared on Earth, they had to develop a way to sustain life in an extremely hypoxic environment. To survive, hypoxic cells would take specialized proteins, such as the one on the board known as EIF5B, or 5B as I'll call it. And when they take them, just like a light switch, they turn on 5B. When oxygen levels are restored, the cells are able to switch off 5B. Today, 5B still exists and still functions in each and every one of your cells. But what exactly is the relationship between KSHV and hypoxia then? To answer this, I'd like to draw your attention to the right side of the slide in the red cell. This slide shows our two major findings in my dissertation. Our first discovery was that in normal oxygen concentrations, KSHV is able to sneak into our cells and begins to act like a molecular thief. It steals 5B from the cells and uses it to make new virus. This causes cancerous changes to our cell structure. Our second discovery was when we were able to genetically take KSHV and prevent it from accessing 5B, and what we discovered was a remarkable outcome. We reduced the virus's ability to cause cancer-like properties in our cells. So what does this mean for us? Our findings identify a new drug target, protein 5B, which can block KSHV, prevent cancerous changes to our cells, and in the long term, we hope to help those that are afflicted with KS. Thank you.
I'm pleased to introduce our next presenter, Salman Ahmad, PhD candidate in clinical psychology in the College of Arts and Sciences. His talk is titled Applying an Islamic Lens on Mental Health, and his advisor is Amy Weissman Dimamani.
The Prophet Muhammad taught Muslims not to call someone with mental illness crazy, but afflicted. Years later, the Prophet was asked why he was crying when his son died and referred to his emotions as God's mercy. Despite such lessons, a pervasive cultural stigma around mental health prevents many Muslims from seeking care or even discussing mental health. You see, many Muslims perceive mental health as a Western concept. They prefer religious and spiritual forms of healing or coping with stress and trauma. But Muslim Americans are reporting exceedingly poor mental health, with 2 times more suicide attempts compared to those of other faith groups. Yet, mental health care is not incompatible with Islamic teachings or history. During the 9th to 11th centuries, when Muslims developed chemistry and algebra, they also created the first psychiatric facilities. There, they classified and treated disorders using methods that closely resemble evidence-based practices today, such as exposures for anxiety or challenging your negative thoughts in depression. A recently discovered text from that era is now being called the first self-help book, and many Muslims are working hard to address the mental health needs of their communities. Yet, many Muslims still don't know where to go for help or feel the places they could go are not sanctioned by their faith. So I developed a discussion-based mental health workshop that I've been delivering to Muslim communities around Florida to increase the likelihood that they would seek help when needed. Over 3 hours, I help Muslims overcome stigma and barriers to help seeking using the examples from Islamic history and teachings. I also provide knowledge on how they can recognize a need in themselves or others. I discuss therapeutic approaches today and how they overlap with the ancient techniques. And I provide resources so that they can easily access care, such as our clinical trial of a therapy that we developed for Muslims, or a database of Muslim providers if that's what was holding them back. Over 200 community members have attended 7 workshops so far. Our findings suggest this workshop reduced stigma, helped attendees feel a greater sense of compatibility between Islam and seeking mental health care, and provided them greater knowledge about how to recognize a need and find resources. 1 month later, many had discussed and recommended mental health care to someone in their family or community, or had sought help themselves. But this is just the beginning, and I'm now helping communities deliver this workshop independently. Ultimately, Muslims have a forgotten legacy in mental health and are at risk today. My hope is that having Islamically integrated mental health conversations can help Muslims erase the stigma and embrace mental health care again. Thank you.
20 seconds. Okay. Don't want to catch her with the judge. Our next presentation is from Emma Ponce, PhD candidate in marine biology and ecology in the Rosenstiel School of Marine, Atmospheric, and Earth Science. Her dissertation, investigating the effects of ocean deoxygenation on coral reefs. Her advisor, Chris Langdon.
Let's all take a deep breath. Inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. We all just respired. In other words, we just consumed one of the most critical gases for life, oxygen. Oxygen is the foundation for aerobic metabolism, the main process that converts food into energy. Most animals rely heavily on aerobic metabolism, including the subject of my research, corals. Now, corals are very cool animals. The coral itself is capable of respiration, but they also have a secret weapon. Corals have specialized algae cells that perform photosynthesis, meaning they will consume carbon dioxide and release oxygen, essentially the opposite of respiration. In this way, corals can both respire and photosynthesize, which I think is pretty cool. Now, it's no secret that corals are facing severe threats from climate change. Most coral reef studies focus on what were previously understood as the two most damaging stressors on reefs, thermal stress and ocean acidification. But there's a third overlooked stressor, hypoxia, or low oxygen availability, that's predicted to increase in frequency and severity, especially in coastal areas like Miami. My research explores the tolerance of corals to low oxygen by asking, how low can corals go and still thrive? To answer this question, I determined how 6 local Miami coral species respond to a wide range of oxygen concentrations by measuring a metric called PO2 crit. PO2 crit tells us the lowest oxygen level that corals can sustain their normal rate of metabolism and still thrive. So this is a really good metric to measure their hypoxia tolerance. Despite being closely related, the species I tested differed in their hypoxia tolerances by 2-fold. To put this into perspective, imagine these corals climbing Mount Everest, where oxygen concentration drops as altitude gets higher. Some species, like the lesser starlet coral, make it all the way to the top with no problem, while other species can't get past a certain elevation without becoming extremely stressed. On my slide, I've ranked the coral species from most to least hypoxia tolerant. Now, the problem is that hypoxia is traditionally defined as 2 milligrams per liter. However, the majority of coral species I tested have PO2 crits higher than this definition. This has major implications for science, suggesting that a universal threshold is not applicable. From a policy perspective, redefining hypoxia thresholds based on species-specific responses will better inform conservation efforts and enhance our prospects for saving these vital ecosystems. Thank you.
Our next presenter is Kaylee Cullison, PhD candidate in biomedical engineering in the College of Engineering. Her dissertation, Anatomic and Physiologic Monitoring of Glioblastoma Utilizing Daily MRI, Radiomics, and Machine Learning. Her advisor is Eric Mellon.
What do Beau Biden, Ted Kennedy, and John McCain have in common? You're probably thinking, oh no, she's going somewhere political with this. Well, Benjamin Franklin famously said, in this world, nothing is certain except death and taxes. But unfortunately, I'm talking about the former. What these men have in common is their cause of death, a type of brain cancer called glioblastoma. Glioblastoma is one of those bad cancers. It is nearly always fatal, with an average survival time of only about 18 months. A major challenge in treating glioblastoma is predicting how patients will respond to first-line treatment, which is a combination of surgery, chemotherapy, and radiation therapy. There's a group of patients who respond very poorly to treatment, with their tumors growing throughout therapy. These patients tend to die within 10 months of diagnosis. However, on imaging, these tumors appear the same as another group whose tumors look to be growing because of an inflammatory reaction to treatment. But this is actually a good response to therapy, and these patients have longer survival times of about 3 years. Currently, it is not possible to discern what's happening in real time. Is it deadly growth or healthy inflammation? The gold standard of distinguishing between these is to watch and wait, which means monitoring with serial imaging for 4 to 6 months after treatment ends and seeing how if the patient clinically worsens or stabilizes. My thesis project predicts between these two groups earlier by utilizing data from daily imaging on a novel radiation device and artificial intelligence. In my lab's initial cohort of 36 glioblastoma patients treated on the novel device, I found imaging markers that are 94% accurate at predicting between these patient groups at week 2 of treatment. This is 5 months earlier than the gold standard method. The next steps of this research are to validate my results in a larger patient group and then design clinical trials that intensify first-line treatment or give an earlier start to second-line treatments based on the predicted response with the goal of prolonging survival times. Sometimes, after delivering this spiel, I get asked a provocative question. What's the point of all this in a disease where all the patients are going to die anyway? Over the years, I've had a chance to really think about my answer. If I knew I had terminal cancer, how I decided to spend the rest of my life would change pretty drastically with the knowledge that I had less than a year to live versus 3 years. If you're like me, you'd also want to know that information, and as soon as possible. And my project is developing the tools to give patients that choice. Thank you.
Our final presenter is Dallas Joseph Howard, DMA candidate in Music Theory and Composition in the Frost School of Music. He's presenting today Bubble Theory. His advisor, Dorothy Heinemann.
Hello. Can you all hear me? Can you guys hear the AC hum? Can you hear the lights buzzing? How about the universe? Okay, that's a little hard, I'll give you that. But can you all see my shirt? It's pretty loud. Can you see this little microphone? Can you see the words coming from my mouth? Most people think you can't see sound, but today I'm excited to share with you this intersection of physics, cognition, and music through my thesis, Bubble Theory. From every star pulse to every cell in our bodies, everything has a frequency. Now imagine if you could see those frequencies. How would this ability affect your perception of space? This is what my project explores by transforming the oscillations of the cosmos into a multimedia experience. At its core, this is a musical piece that it draws inspiration from the multiverse to create a macro to micro collage about existence, bringing to life the unseen patterns and forces that shape our reality. As a composer, one of my main sources of inspiration is abstraction, to be able to distill concepts, objects, and feelings to inform my music. Being that I write contemporary classical music, which is by far the most popular music in today's youth, this piece is not just a musical journey, but a multidisciplinary odyssey. It integrates a diverse ensemble to create a musical metaphor about the different spheres of space that we inhabit. Inspired by cymatics, the phenomenon in which sound effects matter, as you can see on my bottom row of my slide, these frequencies are all around us, and while many are outside our range of hearing, these sounds are the same as the Bluetooth speaker in your living room. And using these sounds to see, we can have these sounds give us a better picture to what is these vibrations and oscillations that are in a given space. Space changes the hierarchy not only of the sounds you hear, but the perception of the sounds you're witnessing. I like to think of these different spaces as sonic bubbles. And in my composition, we traverse 6 layers of bubbles to link the physical properties of reality to a metaphysical conception. These bubbles include the cosmic bubble, your global bubble, your country's information bubble, your social bubble, your home, and most importantly, yourself. Each with its own different properties and importance to the individual. And let me leave you with a little bit of homework. Think about these different spaces and how you are in them. Think about your ability to affect these bubbles versus their effect on you. And with that, I invite you to join me in listening deeper so that the ordinary can be extraordinary in the bubbles that resonate with you. My name is Dallas Joseph Howard, and thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, and thank you to our amazing competitors. Let's hear it for these amazing, phenomenally talented people. Wow, I'm so inspired. I'm so inspired. And while our judges are continuing their work, it's your turn to be judges. So this is the part of the competition that we call the People's Choice Awards. So please look up here on the screen to find instructions to go into menti.com and type the code and put in your vote for your People's Choice, recognizing these amazing presenters. And I'd like to welcome back the jazz trio. We'll listen to some fabulous music while the judging concludes. And then next up comes the announcements. So thank you. Just a quick announcement, People's Choice voting will wrap at 7:10, so you've got just a couple more minutes to wrap that up. Thank you. Just wanted to make the quick announcement. You guys keep jamming. You're doing great.
Okay. It's like one of those Oscars envelopes. I haven't seen it yet. It is a sealed envelope handed to me by our auditors here on the side. Before I announce the winners, I want to give a huge round of applause to all of our competitors today. It reminds us the diversity and the relevance and the importance of graduate education here and research at the University of Miami. So thank you for that. I also want to thank my team at the graduate school who pulled this wonderful event together. They are absolutely amazing, and we did this for the first time in this auditorium. Thank you to all of the students who are here today. I hope to see you all one day on this stage as well. Okay, here we go. Are you ready? I've always wanted to do this. All right. Okay, so first I will present the People's Choice Award. The People's Choice Award goes to Kaylee Cullison. Okay. Our runner-up is Emma Pontes. And for the 2024 3MT winner, I present to you Christian McDonald. Congratulations, Emma. So now I invite, I invite all of you to a networking reception outside. Advisors, friends, family, judges, please stay back so that we can take pictures and celebrate our amazing competitors.